tears, of beautiful laughter and beautiful tears. It's a beautiful morning today with the wind blowing every which way. Beautiful people forgive and forget. Their eyes look like children. It's amazing how you can see the same look in a man that's 80's eyes and the same look in a child that's 4's eyes. In fact, oftentimes the grandparents in our family and the little grandchildren, they all get each other. It's all of us in between that are striving. We don't get it. Isn't that right? Who haven't lost yet, and trust is the strength of their love. And it disarms the powers that separate us. We're the beautiful people. We're the disarmers. We're the sons and daughters of the living God. Why? Because we are the peacemakers. So that's one story of seeing Jesus. Just one. And hearing Jesus, the resurrected Jesus, that we're the people of God on the earth looking for him every day, beholding his resurrection. Where are we going to find him today? Like I said last night, are we going to find him in the face of a prostitute? Tony Campolo did back in the 70s and 80s, right there in Hawaii. Threw a big old party for a prostitute. He saw the face of Jesus in. So that's just one story. Another story, my son Samuel, one day around Easter, he comes walking into my worship room around Easter. He'd seen a picture of Jesus in a book, hanging on the cross, all bloody mess, you know, that whole thing. He probably shouldn't have seen this picture. Just because, you know, it's like so. Children, they don't have the ability to shift between imagination and reality because we're really not supposed to, like I told everybody that was here the other night. A lot of times imagination is reality. And so he had seen that picture and he couldn't get it out of his mind, and he comes into my worship room and he says, I want to write a song about Jesus, Daddy, and so you sit here with your guitar and I'll sit over on your couch with my guitar, and I'll tell you the words, Daddy, and you write the song. So I said, okay, what's your first words? He said, hey, Jesus. So I said, hey, Jesus. Now, Samuel, you got to understand, it's an ordinary day. That's when God speaks to us. Ordinary days, when we least expect it. He writes songs all the time for his mother. I mean, trying to, get stuff. I'm serious. He'll say anything to get some more, candy or get another cookie. I really love you, Mommy. Just wanted you to know, So I didn't know what we were going to get into, Hey, Jesus. All right, hey, Jesus. And then he asked this question, and I knew we were somewhere special. He asked this question. Are you still on the cross, or are you feeling better? And if you're feeling better, will you come down and play with me? I said, Samuel, what if we said, won't you come down, 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 down to the ground? About that time, he had his thumb in his mouth, I remember. The guitar halfway over his head, laying on my couch. And he sits up and he says, yeah, Daddy, I like that. And then he said these words, and he pointed right here. He said, to the next to me place. Tell him to come to the next to me place, Daddy. I said, to the next to me place? Samuel, that's unbelievable. I'd never even heard that phrase before. Later on, my wife and I, we kept looking all over the internet trying to find, that's what I do a lot, just to see if I'm getting something that's creative or if it's just been heard before or it's just, never heard of that phrase before. Here's a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, comes up with his own phrase. The next to me place, that's where I wanted to come. All right, the next to me place with a smile on my face and a song in our ear, and he says, yeah, Daddy, and around and around and around and around and around we go. I've been training him to use his imagination. So the second verse we actually wrote later. One day, I've always been training him, Samuel, if you're sad at school, you just close your eyes and use your imagination and look around the room and see if you can see Jesus. And if you can see Jesus, wave at him. I promise you, he's going to wave back to you. I just leave it up to Jesus, see, because I know Jesus wants to talk to Samuel. So one day he was sniffling in his bed. This is what he does when he's sad. He doesn't really tell me. He just turns the other way in the bed and goes. And then he waits for me to ask him what's wrong. Samuel, what's wrong? Well, today, Daddy, I waved at Jesus, but he didn't wave back at me. I don't know what came over me, but I didn't even have the desire to say, well, maybe you didn't see him wave back to you. Or maybe he waves in a different way. I could have lied to him. We didn't do that. We just said, let's write a song about it. Let's just ask him right now, Jesus, when I wave at you, do you wave back too? And Samuel said to me, how about this one, Daddy? Hey, Jesus, when I'm feeling sad, do you feel sad too? And then we sang that, won't you come down, 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 down to the ground, to the next to me place with a smile on my face and a song in my ear. And around and around and around we go, right, Sam? Around and around and around we go. We're just like, I'm your daddy, but we're like two kids here, aren't we? We just keep going around and around. The third verse was written, when the first verse was written, he stands up in my worship room on the sofa in my worship room, and he points up to the tallest shelf that I have all my theology books up there. So they're hard to reach, you know? Just kidding. And Samuel points up at those books and he says, hey, Daddy, do you think if we threw toys at those books, do you think they'd come alive? And kids don't say usually things twice because they're creative. I was saying this earlier today. Like with God, when he creates things, he doesn't create things with the standard of human approval. His love for what he creates is unconditional, and it isn't based on standards of human approval. That's a beautiful, freeing thing to realize that God creates for human discovery, not for human approval. Children create for human discovery, not for human approval, and they don't even know they're doing it. Samuel, he wasn't like, hey, that was really good, wasn't it, that next to me place line? He doesn't even think that way. So he says it once. Hey, Daddy, you think if we throw toys at those books, do you think they'll come alive? I said, say that again, Samuel. And the second time he said it, and it was just as good but different. You think if we threw those books, do you think they'd fly? And all of a sudden I got it. It was like God's saying to me through my son, Jason, I know you went to seminary, and I know you know this. I know you read it all the time. I want you to try it. I want you to fly this thing. That's what's happening right now. You're seeing it in front of you. Your son is flying it. He's flying his faith.